So guys, as we're talking about this particular episode, I want to say, hey, hi. It's the Speakeasy podcast where we talk about the behind the scenes of being the speaker or the author and what that really means as the entrepreneur. But also, I am your host, Altavis Pelzer, the voice coach, not a voice coach, but the voice coach, professional speaker, certified life coach, and Amazon bestselling author. And when we think about this whole journey, let's be honest. Let's be real. It gets a little strenuous. It gets a little stressful. So add on top of that, being a parent, being a spouse, woo, talk about mind blown. Yes, anything kind of goes after certain times. You're just like, I just want to go into my bubble and I really don't want to talk to anybody. So that's where today's topic came from is, don't divorce the dream. How do you marry the dream without divorcing your spouse? That's it's a very important topic. Why? Because we know that the top 3 reasons for divorce right now, today, like in 2018, it's infidelity is number 1. Number 2 is money, and number 3 is communication. And what are some of the top reasons why businesses fail? Money and communication. Well, so we got that problem solved, right? Not that easy, but we're going to have that discussion today. So for those coming in, thank you so much for sharing out the broadcast. Even if you're catching it via replay, make sure you hit the follow or the subscribe so that way I can come back and engage with you. Today's guest is Miss Cynthia. I am super excited because she is a marriage pathologist, and that means that this topic is going to get some true information, like some real true, honest, no holds bar. I'm not going to make it pretty for y'all conversation today. So hello, Cynthia.
Hello. How are you?
So tell them a little bit about yourself and then we'll dive right into our topic for today.
Well, I am your marriage and relationship pathologist who is on a movement to change the way that we have allowed the world to distort the way marriage and relationships look and get it back to the way that it intended. My company is Marriage Built to Last. I am located here in the Upper Marlboro area, and I am just so excited to be here on Speakeasy today. Yes. Oh, and I have the most phenomenal husband in the world.
I love that. So first and foremost, let's talk about the reality check. Let's talk about the statistics. And so, literally looking at the top 3 reasons why people get a divorce, 2 of those reasons are also the top reasons why businesses fail.
Yes.
Why do we think that is? What is your take on that piece of it?
I think that is because honestly, from childhood, we're not really taught how to communicate. We're not taught how to relate, how to have relationships, whether it's with our peers, we're more so with adults. We are taught back in the day how to relate with adults, but that was more like speak up and be silent, sit there and be silent, you respect your elders. But we were never taught how to have good communication and how to relate to people on different levels in different environments and in different situations. So it's just now that we're really being taught and looking for answers and ways to get these areas correctly. It's the other part too, we were not taught finances as young people, as young adults. No one sat down with us in the school system. Our parents didn't do it. They did not teach us about finances and how to be successful in those areas.
That's definitely saying a lot because I can remember back in high school. Now I'm dating myself. Don't judge. I remember back in high school where we actually went to class and they taught us how to balance the checkbook. They taught us how to use the checkbook. But the reality is that we've come to a point where people hardly ever use checkbooks now, or only if they have to dire need use a checkbook. So they don't know what it is to balance their checkbook. They don't know what that part is. And then the other piece of it is, yes, we don't talk about money.
Mm-mm. Our parents don't talk about it. You went to a good school because they didn't even teach us how to balance a checkbook. Okay? Exactly, right? I went to a good school too, but finances was not part of the program. And what's so interesting, I've always been in like speech classes, drama, things of that nature. So I've always loved talking, and then communications was my major in undergrad, but it still doesn't teach you relationship. And in business, you need relationship with people, whether that's your employees, your colleagues, your partner, and the people that you partner up with and collaborate with. You need to know how to have healthy relationships. And so that is why we struggle in those areas. We got to get more information. We got to do more to expound in those areas.
And you just said a major point right there, relationships. And so when we think about our spouse, when we think about the person that we're dating, there's this mixed idea of what the relationship should look like. And I think that plays into that whole negative connotation, because it's like everybody, you're expecting for everybody to support everything that you're doing.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Especially your closest friends and family. Not going to happen. And you're shaking your head because we entrepreneurs, we all find that out the hard way. We hear people say it and then it happens to you. So that's why you have to know how to have a relationship with those people who really need what you have and they have what you need. And those are the types of relationships you should be focusing on, not to use each other, but to connect with one another because we are better together and we grow better together. We're stronger together. And so we have to build those relationships.
Very true. And I think, we found that that's what's been missing in social media, because people have gotten so used to just post the link, post the flyer, post something, and people are just supposed to kind of jump in and say, hey, I want to buy your stuff or I want to work with you. But they're not building the relationships. They're not, having conversations with people. They're just expecting people to come and support them. And so that's a big no-no in business.
That's why video has become so big, because how can everything is so social media powered, and we're all so spread out around the world and we're trying to connect. And videos, especially things like what you're doing out of these, it makes a difference. Those are helping people to get to know, like, and trust you. But even still, the touch and feel a person, see the person right in your space, those things are far and few between. How often does your doorbell ring with the neighbor just stopping over to say hi? That's like a long lost art. Not dating myself, but back in the day, we rang each other's doorbell every single day you was at somebody's house.
Ooh, I know that's right. I definitely remember that.
Yes.
And so when we think about that, and it comes back to the relationship with our spouse, especially with our spouse. Now, people are going to get offended by this. This is the disclaimer. How you engage with your spouse is going to be different with how you engage with somebody that is not your spouse, somebody that you're dating. But the reality still comes in is there's some key elements that need to be there, no matter if they're someone you're dating or your spouse. So what would you say are the top two elements that need to be present if you're going to be able to marry your dream without divorcing your spouse?
The first one I would say is you have to sit down and have a conversation about the roles and responsibilities in this relationship. And you have to talk about the vision and the goals. And I'm serious. You have to talk about those things. And I can only use myself as an example. When I first started this business, 2014, I was married to the business, okay? I was married to my husband, but I was married to the business. I had blinders on. You hear me? I was full speed ahead. I was totally focused on the business. I couldn't think about anything else. I couldn't do anything else. It was from sun up to sundown. I was working. My husband would come home like, you're still in your PJs? You have rollers in your hair? You haven't been out the house this week? What is going on, right? I'm just keeping it real. You said this was a real show. I'm keeping it real. I am keeping it real. And he would be like, wait a minute, you ain't cooked no dinner today? I mean, this stuff was real, right? And so I'm telling you, it took me probably 7 to 8 months, I think maybe around my birthday, which is in December, and I started on this business in April or May. And so it took me to almost the end of the year that I had to realize, wait a minute, at some point in time, I've got to take a breather and I've got to pay more attention to what's going on in my house. So I literally had to put myself on a schedule to say, okay, at 3 o'clock, I am shutting down, getting this house clean, putting on my clothes and starting dinner so that when my husband walks through that door at 4 something, he sees some activity and action around here and he don't see Cynthia looking like a crazy hot mess.
And that's saying a lot. So I was sitting here laughing because I'm like, yeah, my children are the same way. I'm a single mom, but my mentor's the same way. Literally, they're like, so have you gone outside today? My brother-in-law is the same way. And he'll show up at the door and say, come on, let's go to the store. You only want me to go to the store so I can get out the house. I get what you're doing. I understand what you're doing. But we have to understand that literally when you are in entrepreneurship mode, especially if I'm trying to get something accomplished, I have a deadline, I have clients that I'm working with, it's like, okay, my head is here. I'm getting things done. I'm focused. And you look up and you're like, why does the house look like a tornado hit it? What is going on here?
My kitchen used to look a hot mess. There was stuff everywhere because I used my kitchen table for a long time, even though we had an office now. Office in our bedroom, office in the front room, a full office, and my kitchen table was my office because it was just comfortable and I loved the light. And the kitchen table would be horrendous. I mean, piles and piles of paperwork, books, all kinds, laptops, all kinds of stuff. But what happened with me was that I actually had to do introspection of myself and what was going on with me and my surroundings. Like a lot of times we forget that we have to take an honest look within ourselves. You know, I call that being open with you. Like Cynthia, what are you doing? Why are you not, why are you in your PJs all day? Why are you not cooking dinner? Is it really about the business? I was just so laser focused mind on one thing, which was success and making sure that the business didn't falter or fail, that I just wasn't focusing on other things. But I had to look at Cynthia. I couldn't look at what was going on with the business. I couldn't look at what was going on with my husband or my kids. I had to look at me to figure out how to turn things around within my mindset that was healthier than where I was at that time.
So I'm like sitting over here like completely amazed right now, right? And because I've been there. And a lot of times we think that right now we're talking about the conversation is for, married couples or if you're dating somebody, but this is with every relationship. This is with your relationship with your children. This is with your relationship with family. Maybe you're the caregiver and your parents or, someone else is living with you that you're taking care of. You still have to go through this same process.
Yes.
And that's exactly what it is. It is a process.
Yes. And for me, it really was about the marriage because my husband coming home shaking his head like, And I could not let that spirit be a part of my house, a part of my relationship. I had to check myself, like I said, and I had to think about his needs. Now, we women, we tend to put ourselves on the back burner anyway. So I still was putting me on the back burner because I was putting the business first. But at that point in time, I had to put my marriage back on the front burner. And so we had always pretty much had a date night, which was Friday nights. But even that had kind of taken a back burner. So we had to sit down and talk about how the roles had changed and how our time schedules had changed and how we were going to get back on schedule to get things back on schedule to turn things around between, you know what I'm saying, to get the fire back and the romance back and get us back rolling and moving together and not apart.
So true. So true. We have to have that self-reflection. And so with that being said, guys, you know that that's something that no matter what entrepreneurship you're doing, if you're doing an MLM, if you're doing a business that you're starting from scratch, if you're doing taxes, no matter what business you are doing, that is something that has to be a part of your process on a regular, consistent basis. Because what will end up happening is you will fall into that funk and you'll look up and chaos will be going on around you and you'll be trying to figure it out, because we often remember that you can tell what's going on with a person by the area that they're in. So if they're always in their car and their car looks like a tornado ripped through it, there's something else going on that you really have to pay attention to. And other people may get into the car and see it and say something, but when we get into it, if it's not something we're paying attention to, if it's not something we're clearly looking at, we'll never even notice it. It'll just be the regular old day.
That is so true. You know what? You know, when I think about that, I've noticed that if I get in someone's car and their car is a total wreck, I notice that normally they're driving erratic, they're talking erratic, their life is erratic. They're just all, not that your car is, everything about you is a reflection of you. But if I get in your car and I got to pick up French fries off the seat, move the box from off the floor down there, I don't care if you got kids. I had kids and I never let my car get like that. You know, there's something bigger going on. Yes, we're all super, super, super busy, but we have to prioritize what's important, and we have to try to keep every area in our lives organized. So that was the other thing I had to do. I had to get my life organized. Like I had to put things in its proper place. Like I had to put my business role in one space, I had to put my marriage role in another space, and I had to put my friendship and kids roles in another space. And then I had to put my responsibilities in order. I had to take Friday afternoons off to let that truly be clean the house day. So when I said, you know, earlier about roles and responsibilities, I had to relook at how I divided up my roles and divided up my responsibility between the business, the home, and the husband. And so if you got things in chaos, like your car, as soon as you walk in the house is in chaos, your clothes are looking crazy, yeah, then there's a bigger issue going on there that you need to address.
And I'm sitting here laughing because Michael in the comments says, yeah, my car struggle is real. He's a parent. He is a husband and a parent of two amazing kids. And so I'm like, yeah, the car struggle is real. You definitely look at your car and then it's like every once in a while you'll look at it and go, what in the world? Let me clean this out. But it happens. Things collect. That's another thing that I had to get into the habit of, was making sure that I wasn't just collecting stuff to collect stuff.
Yes.
That's a problem as well. You become that hoarder. And when I say a hoarder, I'm not just talking about hoarding when it comes to items. I'm talking about hoarding when it comes to you collecting all of these tip sheets. You're collecting all of these webinars. You're collecting all of these. You're doing free sessions with everybody. You become a hoarder. That's still hoarding.
That is so true. Do you know that? Oh, that's so good you said that. For when I look at my goals in November, December for the business, and then my husband and I, we look at goals for us as a couple for the next year. And that was one of the things that I put on my list, was no longer was I going to be fishing through social media, waste of time. No longer was I going to be going to everybody's conference just because they're having a conference. No longer was I going to, just be at stuff and do stuff. Like you said, getting everybody's tip sheets, clicking on everybody's, joining everybody's mailing list. I had over 5,000 emails in my box. I had to start unfollowing people, unsubscribing to people. I said, no longer am I going to do things just to be doing it. It has to be something that is for my personal development or for the development of my business or the development of my marriage for me to be a part of it. Because we can get so caught up in all this stuff. I mean, like just stuff going on that we get off track. We get off track. I started not being able to get my work done because I'm reading so much stuff and looking at so much stuff and listening to so much stuff. You get confused. You don't know which direction you should be going in, whether you should be using this app, that app, this program, that program, working with this person, that person. No, you have to get clear. And I talked about vision and goals at the very beginning. You have to get clear on your goals for you and your personal development, for your business, and for your marriage. It's really important.
And separating those goals sometimes is important as well. Like you can't just lump. I think a lot of times we get, listen, I'm going to use the L word. We get lazy.
Yes.
We get lazy and we want to lump it all together and just say, well, no, we're working on this business together. Well, did your spouse say that?
Did he say that? Yes, absolutely. You're right about separating the goals. When we sit down and do our goals, we do our goals for the year. And he does his goals for his life. I do my goals for my life. We do our marriage goals and we do our business goals. I basically do the business goals, but I go over them with him when we sit down and talk about all of our goals. So we do actually a goal board. Like we do get a big poster board. We write it out on paper and then we organize it on the vision board. And we literally can check things off as we go throughout the year when we accomplish certain goals that we have. That includes a revenue goal also. But you're right. The key is you have to keep it separated into each pocket, each area. And then, and also when we do that goal, we actually do a vision and goal setting workshops every year in January for couples all around the area. And so we look at 5 key areas. And all those areas are pretty much in what you talked about as the problems in the relationships. We look at your spiritual life. We look at your health and wellness. We look at your finances. We look at, oh my gosh, I'm blanking out here. Career and education, and then your personal. And so we break it down into those 5 key areas for him, for me, for our marriage. And then the business is just separate, for as far as revenue goals and just vision for the different program and services that we have that we want to target. So it's just, it goes back to that. You just, communication is communicating with yourself too. If your life is not organized and you don't have a vision and a goal, you're going nowhere fast. I mean, what are you doing every day? You're just kind of flipping around in life and you have no direction, no vision. How are you really going to accomplish? How are you really going to grow and evolve into that person that you know you're called to be?
That is so, I have to agree on so many different levels with that. And then with that being said, I always ask people along this journey, what has been some of the blunders that you've come in contact with? Like one of those things that you literally had it happen and then you're like looking back on it going, I don't know what I was thinking. But when it comes to including your spouse in your journey and what that looks like, what is one of the blunders that you came in contact with along the journey?
I would say when I first started this business, I was kind of doing it by myself and thinking by myself. And so I kind of cut him out. And so I'm working hard and I'm expecting him to understand that I'm working hard to make this business successful and get it off the ground and make sure everything is legal and everything lines up in order. And I'm like, and he wasn't understanding. It wasn't until I realized he's not understanding because he don't know. He don't know really what I'm doing. He doesn't know everything that I'm involved in and what it takes. And so I literally had to sit him down and show him the SOPs, the the operating systems of the business, what this look like, what the vision is, the goal is, and how he can be a part of it. It wasn't until I showed him how he is a part of it and how he can be, what he can be a part of, and where the vision was, that he really got on board. So I had blinders on. I wasn't thinking us at the time, even though it was a marriage business. You know, he had a full-time job. I was home doing it full-time. But once I sat him down and showed him things, then we got on the same page. And a lot of us make that mistake. We actually teach a class on marriage, business, and wealth. How couples can work together in business and how they can build wealth. And working together in business can be 3 different scenarios. It could be just one of you has a business. It could be you have a business and you both work in it, or you each can have your own separate businesses. But you got to learn how to divide up those roles and responsibilities and have vision and goals for all of it. Otherwise, it doesn't work well. And a lot of couples don't sit down and figure that part out.
And you hit on quite a few different points that I love, because when we're looking at this whole journey, we're like, okay, you know, they should understand, they should have telepathy, and they should read our minds, and they should understand that I'm stressed out right now, and they need to just bring home chocolate and cream.
Gosh, yes.
Or that today was a great day, and they need to come home happy so we can celebrate. Can we have an honesty moment that literally it's even harder when when one is working at home and one is going to a job, because now you have outside thing that can affect how that person feels when they come in the door.
That's so true. You know what one of my husband's favorite lines is? I'm not a mind reader. And he always says, men are not mind readers. You women have to tell us what you're thinking, what you're doing, and what you're really saying. He said, let the thing be the thing. Like what you're saying, let it be what you're saying, and not let me have to figure it out. So that's really, really, really key. What is making sure that we're not expecting them to just understand. We have to help them understand. Like we got to be clear and direct.
That's right. And so knowing how to communicate, knowing how to clearly describe what you're doing, because that's the other thing, is that we think we're describing something, and to them it sounds like the Charlie Brown teacher. Wah, 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 wah.
There you go.
Because when we think about communication, they communicate with numbers a lot of times. We communicate with emotions. And so that can cause another problem when we're trying to explain to them what's going on in the business, because we're telling them how we feel and how it has, how it has impacted people. And they're going, but the numbers don't look like it impact anybody.
You know what? You're so true. My husband is so numbers person, like math and accounting is his thing, right? Plus he's IT. So he's a black and white person, right? But I'm telling you, until I got him to understand the business and got him on board with the business, it was like trying to mix oil with water and stirring them up together, and it wasn't working. They were separated. But we got to make sure that our partners, whether that's a partner in business, a partner in life, or your married partner, you got to make sure that they understand what is going on, what you're doing. You got to keep them updated, and you got to get them involved. You got to get them involved, because he was not understanding and not on the same page when I wasn't sharing directly what I'm doing, what is going on, how this is going to work. And I had to say, like you said, show him the money. I had to show him the money.
It's so funny. Michael in the comments said, we like Cliff Notes. He said, okay. I don't need the whole how it's purple and why it's not green anymore. I just need the Cliff Notes. What is it going to do to the bottom line? So sometimes, that's what they need, just the bottom line stuff. And let's go with it.
Tell Michael, if he has a wife, sometimes he got to let his wife go up the hill and around the corner to tell the story. Sometimes we women need that. We need to have somebody we can unload on, and we'd rather unload on our husbands than have to call a girlfriend up on the phone and unload. They'd rather that too. They don't want us on the phone for an hour talking to a girlfriend, yakety yak yak, telling them everything that happened. No, I want to share it with you because you're my best friend. You're my closest friend. So can you just give me 10, 15, 20 minutes to tell this one story? Oh my goodness.
Yes, because we know that sometimes it will take just that long to tell that one story. Just that one story. But I love what you're doing, and I love the conversation, because again, this is a question that I often get. People who are writing their first book, they're like, well, how do I explain to my spouse or the person that I'm dating that I want their support in writing this book? How do I explain to them, why I started going live on social media? And they're looking at me like, you hardly talk at all, but you want to go live and talk to strangers. Like, they don't understand. They don't understand that part. And so that's always a question that comes up. How do we do this? What do we need to, what's the process? And so before I go into letting you tell them how they can get in contact with you, I just want to give one more point about that process. Now, when you started, having these open conversations with your spouse, what was his reaction? We know that, they'll say, oh, that was great. Thank you for, sometimes they'll say, thank you for sharing. But what was that immediate reaction the first time that y'all sat down and you said, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what it looks like. Here it is in black and white. What was his reaction to that?
Well, when I first sat down, I was talking to him. It was kind of like, oh, okay, so you kind of serious about this. And I'm like, I know I'm not kind of serious about this. I'm like really serious about this. But it wasn't until I showed him the long-term vision and goals and show it to him in writing. Like, we can talk, but men are visual. I had to write it out and he could see it, visualize it, where I was going with this. And so initially he's sitting down, he's listening to me, and I could see the look on his face. I could tell by his body language. It still was like, okay, you start a little business. Okay, he's thinking about how when you got your little side hustle on the side, or you got your MLM, but you're only doing it a little bit part-time. He didn't take it serious. But if you really want that significant other to take it serious, you got to show them the long-term goal and some of those steps and plans on how you plan to get there. And so sometimes that's that revenue goal as well as that visionary type of goal, like the growth areas where you see the business growing, and also showing them how they fit in. Show them what kind of support you need. Maybe you don't need them to tell you how to run the business, but maybe you need them to give you some ideas. Maybe you just need them to support you when you have to go out to do an event, or you're going out to speak. Maybe you just need their support. Maybe you just need them to help around the house more, help with watch the kids so you can go out and speak at an event. You have to share with them exactly what it is that you need them to help you along your journey.
And you know what? That speaks to a big thing that people always want to throw out there. They always want to say, show and prove, show and prove. You can't just show and prove, because while you're trying to show and prove, you'll end up divorced.
That's right. That's right.
While you're trying to show and prove, you'll end up losing that loved one. You'll end up losing time. That's a big one. You'll end up losing time that you cannot get back.
That's right. That's right. That is so good. That's right. You cannot wait for them to, because you know what I'm saying? And when you're on this entrepreneur journey, it takes a while to really get your business off the ground. You can't expect them to wait a year, 2 years, 3 years to see the business be successful. You've got to be showing them along the way what you're doing, what your plans are, how you're growing, how you're turning things around. You got to keep them involved. You got to talk to them. You got to communicate. You got to communicate, and at the same time, you got to stay connected to them. You got to stay connected to them and keep them involved in your personal life and in your business life, and that's real key.
Definitely. So I appreciate you for coming on today, Cynthia. So let everybody know how they can get in contact with you, where they can find you on social media, and about your book as well.
You can find me on all social medias as Marriage Built to last. That's the numeral 2, not the word 2. The numeral 2, Marriage Built to Last, on all social media. My handle on Twitter is @marriageb2l. That's the number 2, B2L. And then our website is marriagebuilttolast.com. And so, follow us on all social media. My husband and I, we do a Facebook Live every Saturday morning called Breakfast with the Greens. It is amazing. It's funny. We're cooking different meals. People want to come over to our house for breakfast. And so, come on out and join us on Saturday mornings around 10:30, 11 o'clock. We get going in the kitchen. And then you can also find us on YouTube. We do a skits called What Would You Do? So we actually act out scenarios that couples go through and then give them solutions the next week on how they can solve them. So, just look us up, marriagebuilttolast.com. And we would love to partner up with you. We would love to help you. We do free consultations. And we have 2 books. Our first book is Don't Get Married If. It's for that single person who wants to get married someday, or they're in a relationship, they're seriously dating, or they're engaged. And it's all about having those conversations, that communication key, talking about those expectations before you get married, getting the air cleared and talking about every area that you can almost think of to make sure you're clear and understand where each other are coming from. And then our second book is 40-Day Journey to the Marriage of Your Dreams. That book is phenomenal. It has a workbook. My husband always says, it's not a book that you read, it's a book that you do. And so it takes you on a journey for 40 days with you, your spouse, and God to help you build a strong, godly foundation in your marriage.
Oh my goodness. So I'm sitting here going, you said for those interested in getting married, and I was just like,
It's awesome. And when you do it right, marriage is awesome and amazing.
Yes,
you just have no idea.
I know that I have married couples around me who have been married for 20, 30 years. And I love it. I applaud them. And then when I always think about myself getting remarried, I'm like,
never say never. Never say never.
So, oh my goodness, I appreciate you guys for coming and joining the conversation. Guys, you know that literally, if you need help, first and foremost, if you ever find that communication is an area where you're having a problem, get the necessary help. Don't think that it's a bad thing to get someone who has no personal, gain from, what's going on in your relationship, to be able to talk to them, to be able to go and hang out. Now, she said that they do breakfast on Saturday morning, so I was over here taking notes because y'all know I'm a foodie. Y'all know I'm a foodie, but, that's part of growing. That's part of expanding your territory and expanding your reach, is understanding that you're not alone. When you see that there's somebody else who has gone through something, who is going through something, who has overcome something that you're going through currently, attach yourself to them, connect with them, find out what it is that they know, so that way you don't fall into the same pit holes that they may have fallen into. And with that being said, guys, if you are an author or a speaker, I would love to have you on as a guest. If you go to bit.ly/Speakeasy Podcast, all lowercase, you can be a guest here on the Speakeasy Podcast. I think I have people like scheduling time all the way up through July at this point, but you can definitely choose a date. And don't forget that we are rebranding the podcast come April and May. So you're about to see some whole new setup, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming in, sharing out the broadcast, and always, always, always subscribing and connecting. Until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out.